So you just bought a new computer, whether it's a pre-built or a used one, or you just bought a bunch of parts and you're building your first PC. Well, the first thing you gotta do is get an operating system on there so it can start working. All you need is a flash drive, preferably 8 gigabytes or more, and a computer that's already got an operating system on it. From there, I'll walk you through step by step how to get everything you need to create the bootable flash drive, how to then use the bootable flash drive on your new device, and how to make sure everything is working properly afterwards. To start out this process, we need to first get the operating system that we want to install. So for today's example, I'm going to use Pop! OS. I've been using Pop! OS for a little bit on a couple different devices, and I found it to be really easy to work with. This process is going to be very similar for any Linux distribution that you choose. For Windows, it'll be a little different, and if you guys want to see one about Windows specifically, leave a comment down below and we'll do that one next. So for starters, we're going to navigate to our web browser of choice. I'm going to be using my MacBook for this, so I will be using Safari. So what you're going to do, you're going to open your web browser of choice, and then you're just going to navigate to wherever the download is for the distribution of your choice. Since we're using Pop! OS, we're going to go to system76.com. We're going to navigate over here to where it says Pop! OS and just click on that. You're going to navigate over here to the blue download button and just click download. Depending on which device you are running will be dependent on which one you click for the download. Since we're going to be using a regular desktop here, we're just going to hit download 22.04 LTS. LTS is short for long-term support. And so while that's downloading, we're just gonna wait, and when it's complete, we'll move on to the next step. Alrighty, now that we've got that downloaded, the next thing that we need is going to be a software to flash the operating system onto the USB drive. So for me, I like to use Balena Etcher, and so we'll go to balena.io/etcher. And from there, you're just gonna hit this download Etcher button, and from there, it'll take you down to the bottom. Click the appropriate one for whichever device you're using. I already have it downloaded, so I'm not gonna re-download it and install it. From here, what you're gonna wanna do, you can close out of Safari or whatever web browser you're using. I like to then put the ISO file on my desktop, just so I know where to find it. Then from there, you're gonna wanna launch Balena Etcher. Give it a second to boot up. And then from there, you're gonna have a couple options. You can flash from file, which is what we're gonna be using today. If you want, you can just copy the download URL, so that way you don't have to take up space on your computer. Or if you have a drive that you're wanting to clone, say you need to copy everything off of one SSD onto another, you can do that with this tool as well. So what we're gonna do from here, we're just gonna click Flash from File. We're gonna navigate to our desktop. Then we're gonna click on the Pop! OS ISO disk image. We're just gonna click open, and then we're gonna come here and hit select target. Sometimes, if your device doesn't pop up, ours is plugged in here to our CalDigit dock. Just gonna unplug it. Simply plug it back in. We can see that a light's flashing on it. Then from there, just gonna click the flash drive, select one, and then from there, all we're gonna do is click flash. You're gonna need to put in your password for administrative reasons. After that, it's just gonna start flashing the drive. So we'll come back whenever that's complete. And so once it completes, it'll say that it's flashed completed. On macOS, it'll say that the disk isn't readable. And so you can just hit ignore on that and then pull your USB out. And then from there, we're all done with this computer. And so from here, we're going to switch over to our PC that we're going to be installing the operating system on. Today, I'm going to be installing Pop! OS on this Dell Optiplex mini PC that I have. It's got an 8th generation Intel i5 8500T in it. This is great for anyone trying to do some regular productivity tasks, some light web browsing, playing some old, 2D retro games, maybe even turning it into something like a home server. On the front of this one, it has a USB-A and a USB Type-C. And so for our purposes today, I'm going to be using an adapter so we can plug in our installation media onto the front of the device. So I'm going to go ahead and plug that in, get everything set up over here, and we'll go on to the next step. So in order to install the operating system onto a device of your choice, you're going to have to get into the BIOS menu. And so I know for this Optiplex, I need to use the F2 key during startup to get into the BIOS settings. For you, it could be F2, could be F11. Sometimes it's the delete key or the scroll lock key. It all depends on the manufacturer. And so for that, you might have to do a little research, a little trial and error. A lot of times during startup, it'll say press whichever key to enter the boot menu. And so just keep an eye out for that. And when you're in there, we can move on to the next step. All right, so once we enter the BIOS, there's a few things we have to change. For starters, we're gonna navigate over here to boot sequence, and we're gonna click on that tab. Over here, you're gonna find your different boot sequences. For me, I have Batocera loaded on here currently, and so that's what it'll default to. So for this example, we only want it to boot off of the Lexar flash drive. So we're gonna uncheck the SSD, we're gonna uncheck the Batocera file. From here, we're gonna go over to Secure Boot. We're gonna click Secure Boot Enable. And make sure that Secure Boot is not enabled. If you have this enabled, it will cause problems. Secure Boot is not going to want to allow you to boot from the USB, and so bypassing that will make it so that we can boot, install everything to the internal drive, and from there, later on, you can turn this back on if you would like. So now we're gonna come down here. We're gonna click Apply. Then we're gonna hit OK. Once you've hit OK, you can click Exit, and then it'll start to reboot, and then it'll boot from the USB drive. You'll have this screen appear. You can either let it run out the 10-second timer, or you could hit Try or Install Pop! OS. You're gonna see some lines appear on the screen, and just let it sit here and do its thing. The nice thing about Linux distributions is this is a live environment. And so if you don't want to install the operating system right away, you can very easily just go and start using it like normal. You can launch Firefox if you wanted to do some light web browsing. You can go start using any other included applications. Just keep in mind that when you do this, you are running it off of the USB drive. So you might have some speed issues just because the USB is not going to be as fast as, say, the internal NVMe drive. And so if you want to go ahead and install it onto your internal drive, you'll just come over here. You're going to select your language. For me, I'm going to select English. And then we're just going to hit select. And then we're just going to walk through all of these prompts, filling them out as you see fit for you. And then here's where you decide if you can either have a Linux partition or you can just do a clean install. For us today, since I'm just going to make it easy for all of us, we're going to do a clean install of Pop! OS onto the internal drive. We're going to select the internal drive of choice. We're going to hit erase and install. Then from here, you can just fill out everything to create the user account for the device. From here, you can choose to encrypt the drive. For our purposes today, I'm not going to do that. And it's going to start installing onto the drive. And we'll just wait, let it do its thing, and we'll come back when that's complete. Once you've completed all of the installation wizard, you'll be greeted with this. And so in order to finish the setup process, you need to restart your device. So what we're going to do is we're going to come here, click restart device. It's going to load into this, and you're just going to let it do its thing for a little bit. And once it shuts off all the way, you're going to remove the USB drive from the computer. And once you do that, it's going to start booting back up and it'll boot into our operating system. Once you get to here, you're just going to click on the user, enter the password that you set up during the installation process. There you have it. Now that you've installed everything for your new operating system, you can go through the initial setup process. You can change these as you see fit. We always go with the dark theme. Since we are hooked into Ethernet, we're going to skip this for now. It's going to want to know where you're at, so that way it can set up the time zones and everything for the clock. And there you have it. You're all set. There you have it. You've successfully installed Pop! OS onto your new device. Like I said previously, this process is very similar to installing any other Linux distribution that you would like. Windows is a little different, but again, if you want me to go through how to create a bootable drive for Windows, let me know down in the comments below and we can make that happen. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you found this enjoyable and educational, and I hope to see you guys next time.